you. So just take any seat at all. All right. So this is a room that we call the theater room. As it pertains to the museum. There's a seat here, seat there, there's two seats down there. Anyhow, this is the theater room for obvious reasons, but if the light comes up a little better, you might be able to see, and it's not up right now, but there are a set of 3 planks of wood that start from the front and work their way all the way back, and it separates the space into 2, and it runs perpendicular to the rest of the flooring in here. And this used to be hotel room number 17. This over here used to be hotel room number 15. This was Betty Richeson's room, the young girl from Jacksonville, the young girlfriend of, or, well, it was the young girlfriend of Mr. X. So, when Mr. X got back to the body from scaring the witness, he dragged her all the way across the landing and all the way that you all have just walked just now to her bedroom, and wrapped in the wet towels around her head and the bedclothes around her body. There's Marjorie Kennan Rawlings and Norton Baskin. They lived here, and they also had a cottage down at Crescent Beach, which is near where I am. Here's Ruth Pickering. Now this gives you a visual of who we were just talking about that lived upstairs on the 4th floor. She was quite well loved here, and she's the same woman that was on display downstairs for 4 days after her death. Here's a rendering of Betty Richardson, the young girl from Jacksonville. That is an oil painting done by one of our old tour guides that has found much luck in New York City these days. Anyhow, that's neither here nor there. When Mr. X got the body of Betty back into her room, he set her in her bathtub, which happened to be right here. Okay, so you picked a good spot. Yes. Now, I'm going to draw your attention to these rectangles here. These are not here just for aesthetic purposes. These used to be windows, and in fact, they're just covered with particle board now. But in the 1940s, if you could peer out and up, you could actually see into the penthouse suite, and vice versa if the window was set in such a way up there. That's where Ruth Pickering lived. And so, the last account that the lobby staff had of the other girl, Betty Richardson, the tears streamed down her face, she looked like she had been in an altercation. You know, this space right here was probably where there was another squabble, a first squabble, one that Ruth, if she had seen it, was probably quite sensitive to. She came from an abusive marriage, and so that gave her great cause to come down and intervene. In fact, I forgot to mention there was a door in the atrium that is the other, there's 2 accesses to the penthouse suite, and one of them was where we were standing around that open air atrium. Anyhow, when Mr. X got the body of Betty into her bathtub, okay, he already knew that, number one, that Ruth knew something that he did not want her to survive with. Number 2, he knew she lived here. And number 3, he knew where she lived. And so once he got that body of Betty in the tub, he went out that back door, it swings open. Right behind it is a door under lock and key, and I do have the key to the penthouse. I have not been back up there since I started working back here, but anyhow, it is the quickest way up there, and the light switch is at the top of the stairs, and that's most of the reason why I don't go. But anyhow, he zoomed up there, and he got to Ruth. He strangled her to death in just the same way he strangled his girlfriend. And he did the very same thing. He wrapped Ruth's body, here's Ruth, he wrapped her body in the bedclothes. He wrapped wet towels around her head, and psychotically enough, tied a knot at the left of the neck. And he also put her in her bathtub. So now you have 2 deceased women on their respective floors, prepared in just the same way. So what is Mr. X doing at this point? Well, he gets to the bottom of the stairs, and right there in the corridor is right outside where the dumbwaiter used to be, and also was a kerosene lamp. Well, he kicks over that kerosene lamp, and he intends to start a fire. Apparently, he intended to start a fire from the get-go because of the wet towels. He already had wrapped Betty's head in wet towels. Well, anyone that knows anything about kerosene might know kerosene doesn't burn too well in terms of house fires. In fact, it was vastly unsuccessful. There was very little damage, very little smoke, very little flame, and after the fact, hardly any repair at all. Okay? And so everyone was coming back from their Easter Sunday morning Mass, Everyone was coming back from Easter Sunday morning breakfast. The whole house was amok with rumor mills, and so the fire department was called out, even though there was hardly any fire at all. And so naturally the fire department starts from the top and works their way down. So they find Ruth first, then they filter down and they find Betty, both deceased upon arrival. Here's where it gets interesting, at least for me. The coroner was called out at that point. Okay. Now, in my first stint here when I worked here from 2008 to 2012, I mean, I started just pure science. I didn't know ghost anything, all right? So I really, along with a couple of friends that worked with me, wanted to know what the concrete evidence was surrounding all of this. We knew that we had paranormal investigators in this house, countless hours of them. But we wanted to know what the paperwork said. And so we looked up these coroner reports. And what is on these coroner reports is not strangulation, as is the actual cause of death of both of these women. But what is written on these coroner reports is smoke asphyxiation. What smoke? There was hardly any. Okay? And so this man, this Mr. X, he got away with murder. In my opinion, and it's a humble opinion, I think that this Mr. X, whoever he was, and we know very little of him, with the exception of what paranormal investigators tell us his name might be Jim or James. And if you start taking pictures after I say those names, you might get something kind of crazy. You can take pictures as I'm talking at you. Don't be shy. It's okay. I'm used to it. But anyhow, furthermore, I think that he had help covering up his tracks. Because how can one man get away with 2 murders in such a way? All right? But stronger than that, furthermore, I believe that the help that he had covering up his tracks lived in this building. But I'm not here to start any rumors. That's just how I feel. And so, at this point, I want you all to go ahead and stand up and move around this room and see how it makes you feel. And then as you do, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Elizabeth Warden. Go ahead and get out of your seats. Get up and out of your seats. We're going to move downstairs in just a moment. But Elizabeth Warden, see that picture right there? That bell shape that's inside the circle? That's where you all were standing around the atrium. I was directly adjacent to where that picture was. That was taken by the Peace River Ghost Trackers. That is the bottom to a little girl's dress from the 1800s, and we tend to capture that same apparition in this space on this side of the room. This used to be Elizabeth Warden's old bedroom. That is the youngest child to the Warden family, and so she is the first person to have ever seen anything paranormal happen in this building. You might be asking yourself how and why that's even possible. They were the first family here, right? Well, when this building was built, it was commissioned to be built from far away. And though the owner was probably aware that it was part of the fort grounds at one time, he might have not known that it was actually constructed over the loose graves of dead soldiers. So already it was a paranormal hot seat for activity when the first family moved in. So anyhow, take pictures please if you can. This is your chance. We're going to move downstairs now, right this way. Please watch your step. These are very narrow stairs.
Recording the whole tour. I put the fucking conjuring machine.
Hopefully not around your necks. That would be rude of me. Right this way. And just kind of center where these masks are right here. You know, in the heyday of the beginning of the ghost tour, people used to have a lot of digital cameras, and I find that those work so very well. People do capture things on their smartphones, but digital cameras, I mean, they really, you can manipulate the amount of time between your photos, and that's the biggest difference. If you want 4 or 5 pictures in a row, like less than 2 seconds in between your picture, and if your camera makes you wait 3 or 4 seconds, it's kind of, it's different. But anyway, I'm not sure if this is the whole group, but I'm going to start anyway. Where you are standing right now, I never used to stop here, but I do now, because where you're standing used to be the kitchen, and there used to be so many people working down here to get the food ready for the building when it was both a hotel and when the building was original. And when they did, and they were, the food was ready to be brought to whoever it was going to, they would put it in what is now the elevator shaft, but it used to be the dumbwaiter. Okay, and so when all of these people that worked so hard every day would rest their weary heads at night, they would go over and they would sleep in their living quarters, which is present day, the Castle Garden Inn bed and breakfast. That's no longer part of this grounds, but it used to be where they stayed at night. And so anyhow, the reason I bring up all of these people that work down here is because I tell you one day, one slice of time, and 2 deaths that occurred. We have 18 known entities that reside here in this building, and I'm willing to bet there are quite a few more. And I'm also willing to bet when I go, I've spent enough time here, that I'll probably be haunting this building just the same. So long as I don't find myself in the witness room, I'll be all right. Okay, but that poses the very morbid idea. Okay, because all of these people, it is the emotional rifts left in the space, in my opinion, that cause these residual hauntings. And so, as you're walking the earth each day, what spaces do you fill up? What emotional rifts are you leaving behind? Are they good and are they bad? And we can't help leaving either one. But you guys, these days, this world really needs some good rifts. So let's move forward from that. And my name is Colleen, and I really enjoyed having you guys here as a group tonight. We're going to work our way out through this hallway right here. Hi, Kiana. This is our other tour guide. And as we do, take a deep whiff in. Because as you move through to the right of the window, that's where they used to keep the horses. And so, yeah, I know what you're thinking. It is not. We can't seem to get rid of the scent of wet hay. And so, it's the only place in the building that smells like that.
Oh, shit with me.
I'm so sorry.
Second tree on the right.
See you later. Have a good night.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, Dad, we're doing a walk back.
You have an appointment and stay all night. They set you up in a room and all, you can stay all night. He said most times people don't stay but a little bit and they leave.